Okay, this video was a request from a subscriber over on YouTube, and that was kind of an explanation of rank structure. You know, they have the materials, they see the pictures, but they don't understand, well, where do the different ranks fit inside an organization, who outranks who, and that type of stuff. So I'll go through, explain some on ranks, and this is going to be from the Army side, and how these ranks translate over into a militia. Okay, we're going to start out first here with enlisted ranks, and then potentially I'll do part 2 because I'm going to have to go through clean the board, and we'll talk about officer ranks. Now first off, your basic level that does all the work, your grunt workers, is going to be pay grades E1 through E4. So you have private with no rank insignia, a PVT, a PV1, all the same thing. And then when they get a little bit more experience, they get their mosquito wings. They become a PV2 or a private 2. A little bit more experience, they get their rocker. They become a private first class. Now the more experienced people in the squad and the grunt workers are your specialists. They get the shield here, a black shield, an upside down teardrop. That's your basic workers in the squad. Now when do people get promoted? In the actual military, it's typically by time in service. In the militia, I would say go by experience. Someone comes in, they have absolutely no skills whatsoever, make them a private. They have a little bit of skills, not much, make them a PV2. They may have a little bit more skills, how much? That's up to you, your decision in your unit. Make them a PFC. Someone served in the military, they don't really have what's needed to become a non-commissioned officer, but you want them at that position where they're the subject matter experts, make them a specialist. Now, once you get outside these levels here, that's when you get up into the ranks for your team leader. You have pay grades E4 and E5. Now it is very rare to see this in the military now. 2 chevrons, that's a corporal. Typically what the military does, they go from specialist straight into sergeant. You also see as a team leader, and this is the most common, sergeant E5, 3 chevrons, nothing underneath. So this group here, corporals and sergeants, they're going to be in charge of these guys. They're the team leader. So every corporal or sergeant is going to be in charge of, say, 3 to a max of 5 soldiers, maximum. Now, above them, you're going to have your squad leader, the person that's in charge of 2 or 3 fire teams or weapons teams. The squad leader typically is going to be a staff sergeant. 3 chevrons, 1 rocker, nothing inside. Pay grade E6 in the military. Now you're going to have that non-commissioned officer that all of these people report to, your sergeant first class. That's the platoon sergeant typically. 3 chevrons, 2 rockers, nothing on the inside. Pay grade E7. He is ultimately the subject matter expert for that platoon. He's the one who's been there. He's been there a long time. He's done every job in that platoon and then some. He's been all over the place. You get the idea. Now, just going off of this section here, your platoon leadership, who should fill those positions in a militia unit? First off, you want someone that has the knowledge, hopefully has the experience, and definitely has even that slightest little bit of leadership abilities. Leadership abilities can be learned through trial and error, but it is preferred the person already has it. So you get someone that comes in from the military, they are a veteran, joining your militia potentially during the conflict. Maybe you're going to put them in at the rank they were when they got out. You know, they were a Sergeant E5 when they were in. Well, put them at the duty position of team leader. They proved themselves, they got more knowledge, you think they're ready, bump them up to a squad leader, put them in charge of a couple fire teams. You get the idea. Someone who was a squad leader or a platoon sergeant in the military joins your unit, well, think of them as either the squad leader or bumping them up to a platoon sergeant, depending on what openings you have at any given time. Now down here, this is more up into the admin levels. The first one here really isn't in charge of anyone except usually a section, and that's a master sergeant. Master sergeant, 3 chevrons, 3 rockers, nothing in the middle. Now you typically only see master sergeants up at higher level headquarters, so a battalion headquarters, brigade headquarters, division headquarters. And as I said, they're only in charge of a section inside headquarters, like an operations section, like an intelligence section, like the personnel section. You get the idea. They don't really have a leadership assignment. Do I think this would appear in a militia? Probably not. The next one here is first sergeant. They are actually the same grade. Both of these are E8 pay grades in the military. First sergeant, 3 chevrons, 3 rockers, but a diamond in the middle. That is the senior most non-commissioned officer in a company, in a unit. This is the person who is the go-to person for the commander. The one who's the subject matter expert that the commander goes to for advice. And also, you know, that first sergeant is in charge of discipline in that unit. They're in charge of the beans, the band-aids, and the bullets for that entire unit, making sure that everyone gets what they need. If these guys have trouble getting something, the first sergeant was usually the one who would track it down or point them in the right direction of where to look. Now we got another admin rank here, Sergeant Major. 3 chevrons, 3 rockers, star in the middle. Sergeant Major, just a plain Jane Sergeant Major. Really the only place you're going to see that is at brigade level or above, and you won't even see that many of them at brigade level. They are basically the higher level command equivalent of a master sergeant. So they're going to be in charge of a section. They're not going to be the senior NCO in a unit. Now, same pay grade as the Sergeant Major as the Command Sergeant Major. 3 chevrons, 3 rockers, star, and then some salad around it if you want to think of that. The Command Sergeant Major is the primary advisor to a battalion commander or a brigade commander. Because a Command Sergeant Major, it's the same rank whether you're at the battalion, you're at the brigade, you're at the division, you're at the Army group level, corps level, whatever it is, it's still a Command Sergeant Major, the senior most non-commissioned officer in that element. Just like at company level, the command sergeant major is the same way at battalion level. They are the one that's in charge of discipline, making sure that people get proper training, making sure that the beans, band-aids, bullets are making it where it needs to. Now, once you're up in this level down here, the only ones that I think potentially you will actually see in a militia is maybe first sergeant. If you got a bigger unit, you're able to form a battalion or a brigade, you'll see the command sergeant major. I doubt you'll see too many master sergeants or just plain Jane sergeant major. But I think first sergeant is going to be the most common that you'll come across for the senior most non-commissioned officer in a militia unit, if it's larger than a platoon. So what type of ranks would we see in a militia unit, or could potentially see? Obviously, the lower level here, private through potentially specialist, or at least private through PFC. You'll probably see sergeant, maybe a corporal, staff sergeant for the squad leaders, sergeant first class for the platoon sergeant, first sergeant for the company non-commissioned officer, and if the element is that large, command sergeant major for a battalion and above. Now, in the military, I will throw this in there, will you find other ranks in charge of different elements in here? Yes. Okay, it is not that uncommon in the military to see a specialist as a team leader. It happens. It also happens where you'll see an E5 sergeant in charge of a squad, or a staff sergeant as the platoon sergeant. And I have had this more than once, a sergeant first class as the company first sergeant, just because there wasn't any available actual E8 first sergeants for that position for that unit. That does happen. The average person, the average trigger puller, that's here. These are the ones in charge of them. These are the ones in charge of all of them. This is the one in charge of all them and then some. And they all report to that guy. Hopefully that explains it a little bit better. I will reset the board here, and then we'll go over some on the officer ranks. Now, for all my engineer brothers and Patriot Militia movements, always remember, essay arms.